Good morning, everybody. It's Mr. Oliver from the high school. I'm just checking in with you with an update this week, and I'm going to get going. Hopefully, it won't take too long, but you know how I am with my videos, so let's get going. Um, all right, I'm going to update you on a few different things this morning. I'm going to just talk a little bit about the opening of school, give you a little bit of an update on COVID, give you some details about Picture Day, talk about Chromebooks, and then talk a little bit about intervention and student support this year. So that's what's on the agenda, and I'll get through this hopefully in 5 minutes, but we'll see. Um, so first off, let's talk about the opening of school. Um, Overall, our students are back and they're doing great. I said this in an earlier video. It's nice to have that energy and vitality back in the building, out in the hallways, messing around with kids, hearing their laughter and energy in the building. It's really great to see. We're seeing things that look a lot like normal. I shared some pictures on the screen here. This is actually from Mr. Mitiga's social studies class. It's just nice to see kids out doing stuff around the school. For example, this is 9/11 memorial that Mr. Mitiga's class built out in one of our courtyards, and you can just see it was a fantastic thing. So not only was the memorial a great thing, it was just nice to see kids in the building doing stuff again. Uh, and that's very much what it's been like so far this year. Yeah, it's a little different. They're wearing masks and things, you can feel COVID in the air to some extent or another. Everybody knows it's there and it's reality we're dealing with. But overwhelmingly, things are starting to feel a bit more normal. So that's great. I do have to give props to our staff too. I mean, everybody's working hard. And when I say that, I mean everybody from custodians to kitchen staff, bus drivers, teachers, aides, assistants, everybody, administrators too. So things are going very well, and we've had what I would consider a really a pretty smooth opening to school, in spite of the COVID issues that we're dealing with, which I'll talk about more later. Um, excuse me. And might as well get right into the COVID stuff because I know there's questions about it. For being honest, we're seeing cases at the high school. The good news about the cases we're getting is our quarantines are lower this year than they were last year. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, the mitigation strategies. Public health has got us to a 3 foot distance rather than a 6 foot, which means when there is a case in the school, we're not taking as many kids out. The other thing that really helps is vaccination. I can't say enough that the most effective strategy we have to help deal with the pandemic is vaccination. When we have cases in school, it's, we might have a bunch of kids around a positive, but not nearly as many are getting quarantined because generally speaking, I don't know, it feels like maybe half or slightly more than half of the kids are vaccinated. If we could get that number up, it would really drop our quarantine numbers a lot at the high school. And at the high school, we do have an advantage over, say, the elementary schools because all of our kids are eligible for vaccination. So, that's going well. Uh, I would say, and I'm going to knock on wood as I say this, we haven't really seen a cluster at the high school. And by that, I mean like a kid that comes in positive and then apparently infects a bunch of other kids around them. We're not really seeing that. What we're seeing is kids that are coming into school that have some symptoms that we end up sending home. And that's how our quarantining is generally happening. We have a kid that comes in, they have some symptoms, we catch up with them, and then we have to quarantine some kids that were around them. We would ask for your continued support in a couple of things. One, our kids are doing great with masks, and whatever you can do at home to keep that trend up, we would greatly appreciate. I know masking and a lot of COVID, there's all kinds of thoughts and feelings about it, but at school, we have to be masked. It's a mandate in New York State. So whatever you can do at home to make sure your kids are doing that, we'd appreciate, and give them a little tip to make sure they're putting it up over their nose too. If we have any issues, it's that one, and we continue to tell kids to move them up. Biggest one I can tell you is keep your kids home when they're sick. A lot of people want to say it's allergies, it's a cold, it's this, it's that, or whatever. But sometimes it's actually COVID. And when we get that, then we end up having to quarantine a bunch of kids around the student who had it. So, when in doubt, keep your kid home, call the nurse at school, we'll walk you through the process. I know it's a daunting process. The doctor's offices and places to get tests are really, really overwhelmed right now. So when you get into the protocol, it's definitely a headache, and I understand that. But it's still better than sending your kid to school and then having a whole bunch of additional kids out on quarantine because of it. And as always, if you're willing to have your kid vaccinated, or if your child wants to get vaccinated, we would certainly encourage that. So that's where we are with COVID-19. And Superintendent Brady's been sending out some information in his updates as well. But that's specifically where we're at the high school. We have Picture Day coming up this week. It's Monday and Tuesday this week. We have Life Touch coming in, and your kids will be going down to get their pictures either Monday or Tuesday in their PE classes. So your kids' picture day will depend on which day they have PE. So just ask them, make sure they come into school looking all purty, and then we'll get their pictures taken for the yearbook and for whatever other purposes that we need. Obviously in gym class, we'll take the pictures before they do any gym stuff. So they'll all look sharp when they go down and get their pictures taken. So that's where we are with pictures. I just want to make sure that you knew what was going on there. We do have to update on Chromebooks to some extent. Chromebooks have been an issue at the start of the year. I've said in earlier videos that we are missing some equipment from last year. We're just about through that. We do have a handful of kids that still don't have a Chromebook, or more kids than that might have a Chromebook but not a charger. We do have enough Chromebooks in the building for all of our students. We have them assigned and dedicated to students, even though they might not have them yet. Some of our kids don't have them because they still owe us a charger. They didn't give us a Chromebook. We're working through the process, and our student affairs office has been reaching out to those families. I did do a large order for chargers, which is the biggest issue we have. So the charger issue will get solved fairly soon. I'm hoping by the end of this upcoming week, we'll get through all of the Chromebook issues. And if you have been contacted by Student Affairs saying you owe a charger or Chromebook, make sure you're reaching out so we can set up some sort of a plan so we can get your kid a Chromebook just in case they need it. And we're still using them in classes for Google Classroom and posting materials there. So it's kind of important that they have them. So if you have any questions about that one, let me know. I did want to talk about intervention, and I did not leave a spot to put my face on this slide. One of the biggest lasting impacts of the pandemic over the last 18 months, and I know we're not through it yet, but the thing that's going to hang with us is our kids just didn't get the learning in the last 18 months that they normally would have. Often I hear parents say, it's not a lot, but some say, well, my kid did really well on remote learning. Well, what I always want to tell people with that is, your kid might have done really well on remote learning, and some did, but you need to understand that generally speaking, we did about a half, maybe 3/4 if we were really pushing of the content that we normally would have. We were going at a much slower pace, so that's going to create some learning loss that we have to address. So the Board of Ed and the superintendent really supported us by adding some intervention staff into the building this year. We hired a couple of new assistants, and these guys are going to be helping specifically with ELA and math. And don't be surprised if you see your kids, they might get pulled out of a study hall and get pulled into one of these intervention classes to help. We're working out right now, finishing up our data and making sure that we have everybody in that we can. And the goal of these classes is really to support the learning in the class and to help fill in some of the missing skills over the last 18 months. If your kid comes home saying they got pulled out of a study hall and they're now with some teacher doing math or ELA, that's exactly what it is. There's quite a few students that are going to need a little bit of a boost up this year, and that's fine. So just wanted to let you know that that's going on. And obviously, if you have any questions about it, reach out. And know that if your kid gets pulled into one of those classes, you'll know. We'll reach out to you and contact you. But don't feel any kind of way if they do. It's just us trying to give everybody a leg up, and lots of kids need a little help after the last 18 months. And thank you to the Board of Ed and to the superintendent for supporting us with these additional staff members this year. They're needed and appreciated. So last thing I have on here is simply questions and contact. Generally speaking, I end every email by saying, if there's anything that you can do or anything I can do to help, let me know. We want you to reach out and contact us. So generally speaking, the protocol we need to follow for that is, if it's a classroom issue, I want you to reach out to the teacher first. I shared with you my email address in here a couple of times, but I'm showing you this more for the structure of how our email works. This is the same for all of our staff members. So it's the first initial of their first name and their last name, and then at MCS. So that's how you get a hold of your teachers. If you need an email address, you can obviously call us and we'll give you one. But if it's a classroom issue, if you're asking about an assignment or something doesn't sound right, or your kid's telling you something and you don't understand what it is, by all means, email our staff. They will get back to you, and they will help you out in any way they can. You can also voicemail your teachers. The easiest way to do this is to call our main office, and I've given you the phone number and the extension here. That'll get you to Mrs. Maroff or to Mrs. Labarge in the main office, and they can connect you up with any teacher's email. And then, as always, I always say this: if you have any other issues at all, or if you try to reach out and you're being unsuccessful, or you don't know what to do, or you don't know where to go, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Again, my name and my email address, and that's my direct extension at school. And I will get back to you if there's anything I can do to help. So really, I think that was the last slide I had for today. It is. So this is just an update for you guys. I'm going to try and get these out every couple of weeks. I said in a prior post on the Facebook page that if you have anything you want me to address in here, just shoot me an email or let me know, and I'll be happy to include it in my next update. And until then, it's nice to see you all. We're really grateful to have your kids back in school. And we really do, just want to say thank you. We appreciate the trust that you're showing in us in these sort of strange times in which we live, and know that everybody in Messina Central High School is working just as hard as we can to have a successful and safe school year for your kids. So I hope you have a great day. I hope you enjoyed your weekend, and we'll see you around. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.